Hello, and you are tuned in to Simply Life with Stacie. This is a podcast about food, family, and entrepreneurship. Today's segment is Innovation Monday. Here we talk to business owners and local people in our community who are innovators, who have learned how to build success in the most unusual ways.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So hello everybody. Hi, this is Innovation Monday and I am Stacie Simpugwe. Here today I have my very good friend named Fahada. She is a belly dance instructor and as well as many other things. You have so many things that you do. Multifaceted, as most of us innovative and industrious women we're out here doing the same. So first, I want you to say hi to everybody that's tuned in.
Hello, I am Fahada. It's nice to see all of you.
Can you see everything good? Is everything good?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to do some improvements because week to week, whenever we do our thing, we have to upgrade. We have to slowly get better, and that's what I am working on. Anyway, so first, why don't you tell our audience about who you are, what you do?
I already said my name is Fahada. I am a professional belly dance teacher, performer, and fitness instructor. My business is based out of Fayetteville, so I tend to serve the Cumberland County area.
Okay, so yeah. Just Cumberland County. Okay.
Performance-wise, I will travel. Like, I've performed up in the mountains in North Carolina, but so far I've just been pretty local because traveling, there's, travel fees and also everything else containing to, when you drive 3 hours to perform somewhere,
Right. And usually, how long do you perform?
A performance... It kind of depends on what the situation is. I've been in dancer showcases, in which case the performance is less than fair. A gig performance, anywhere 15 to 30 minute performance.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about hold on a second. Let me see if I can get this a little better. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're talking about performances, what are we talking about? What kind of dancing are we talking about?
Belly dancing. So with performances, within the belly dance community, there are different showcases where you'll have usually on top of a workshop or an intensive weekend where it'll be kind of like a gala type performance where I have a lot of people performing who are there or also traveling from out of state to perform. And then gig-wise that are longer, the 15 to 30 minute is generally a hired thing. Sometimes it also includes a teaching portion. It depends on what the client wants.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how long have you been doing this?
I started belly dancing, taking classes to belly dance to learn in January of 2013 is when I started learning. And then I started teaching myself in 2017 in the summer.
Okay. So how did you become a student that decided I want to do this professionally?
So a little bit, quite a few years before I even took classes, I became enamored with belly dance. But I'm also one of those people who, if I want to start doing something, when I first start, I'm very bad at self-starting. You can find a whole bunch of resources on, here's free classes, or here's a bunch of YouTube videos on how to dance. But I would watch them, but I would never actually get up and do them, So when I started taking classes, a friend had posted about, there's a studio opening up and they're teaching belly dance. I was like, okay, I'm signing up. And I took the first class and I signed up for they had 10-week classes at the time. And so I signed up pretty much immediately right after that for the whole session of classes. I started from there. So I knew I enjoyed at least watching belly dance, but it was that first class I was yeah, I really love doing this. And as it went on, it was I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Whether I do it as a professional way or if I just do it as a hobby, it will continue to stay in my life forever.
Right. That's awesome. So now, for belly dancing, do you have to be this extroverted people person? You know what I mean? What type of person really decides, that they want to first do belly dancing and then perform professionally in front of people? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So pretty much anyone can. I'm actually an introverted person. It took a while for me to get comfortable. Like, I'm gonna be honest, my first couple performances, if there wasn't a videotape of it, I would have no memory. I blanked. I'll be honest. But by the time I got to performing, I had known my choreographies. Like, as soon as music came on, my body was like, okay, this is what we're doing. So even if my mind kind of checked out a little bit, my body knew exactly what to do.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, and I've seen that with quite a few other belly dancers I know, and they're introverted as well. So it's kind of like an odd thing where you don't think, oh, someone introverted wants to dress up in a sparkly, kind of revealing costume in front of a whole bunch of people and perform. It is a very, vulnerable thing to do.
Yes, yes. I mean, yeah. I think that's kind of like, the fear of speaking in front of people. You can have that moment where you're like, choke up. You know me. I speak in front of people all the time, and a lot of people are like, oh, you're just so extroverted. You talk to everybody. I was like, you have no idea what it takes to go up. I grew up painfully shy, painfully to the point still have that thing in the background that's like, holy crap, I am terrified and petrified to speaking in front of people and engaging. But, you overcome it. Dancing was how you overcame it.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that, when it comes to, public speaking, still freaks me out. But I can perform in front of a bunch of people, and it's fine. But I guess also it's part of the fact that through dance, I became a lot more, comfortable with my body. And to the point where, I know my body very well. I know when I wake up, how I feel that day, what I'm capable of being able to do that day. So within the physical aspect, I know I can accomplish what I need to do, both in dance and in regular life.
Right. So do you think that, to do belly dancing, have you seen a lot of women who have body image issues? Do you think belly dancing has helped them kind of work through those issues?
It's helped quite a few people. There's even a website by the name of it's now kind of it hasn't been updated in a long time. It's a little dead, but it's Belly Dance at Any Size. It's a website where quite a few women wrote articles as well on how belly dance helped them body image wise, because a lot of the time when it comes to body image, you're thinking of all of the outside factors as to why you feel about your body the way you do. Versus when you start dance, you have to be so inward focused on, this is how my body feels when I do that movement. I need to learn how to do this or that correctly. And it goes from, I'm thinking about my body as the Western beauty standard perspective, to I'm thinking about my body in the way of how it moves, how it feels, how I can make this move go from mechanically correct to looking pretty when I do it. If that makes sense?
Yeah, totally. So instead of worrying about how your body looks, you're worried about how it feels.
Yes.
So it's working inside out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's powerful. Now, have any women made transformations throughout the process, whether it be mentally, whether it be physically? Have you noticed some of your students make transformations?
Yeah, there's been quite a few who do. Some of it also depends on, with belly dance, it is a physical movement thing, and we are, particularly in my way of teaching, I teach there's a couple different sort of methods behind teaching dance, or at least teaching belly dance that I've seen over the years. And mine is very much these are the muscles and the joints and skeletally how you do the movement. And from that, because we're so focused on that, it will slim you down to some extent. You might step on the scale and nothing happens, but you might end up losing a few inches, which I've seen both as a student taking from other people and other classmates doing that, and as a teacher, people losing weight from dance. We do a lot of oblique work, and abdominal work, which is why not all, but a lot of belly dancers you will see have like a little tuck in the waist, because we use our obliques so much in dance. It helps like sort of pull you in just a little bit, but that's not one of the reasons I went into doing fitness training as a belly dancer is also that same reason, because there are a lot of people who come in like, I want to be a little more fit, I want to like be more active, get more of a fitness aspect out of it. So there are students who physically do have a bit of a transformation. There is an extent to which belly dance can't go any farther, and you have to do all, other training as well. And then mentally, you know, we've had quite a few people go from being shy to being much more outgoing and much more comfortable with themselves, which is a goal that I have. Yeah.
So that's a personal goal for you, to get your students to get out of their shell and be more engaging.
Yeah. But on top of that, I also take into consideration, like, if a student comes in and says, this is my goal for this, like, I'll make sure that, you know, we're working towards reaching that goal for them, too, if they come in with a particular goal. But otherwise, like, my general goal for classes is have people be more comfortable and confident in their bodies and themselves.
Now, how does this correlate when you're talking about, we talk about grown women, but before they were grown women, they were children, they were young ladies, and do you train younger women?
Yes, I do train teenagers and girls. A lot of times it's a little funny when you are teaching younger women. They're a lot, particularly like the younger they are, they'll pick up on belly dance a lot faster. I think a lot of it's because they haven't had all that internalized self-consciousness, or being self-conscious of their body, if that makes sense.
Right.
It has ingrained enough that they're, like, worried.
So you think when they're younger, you know, they don't have society kind of, like, dumping on them that they should look a certain way or act a certain way or be a certain way?
Yes. In which case,
so when go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in which case then at that point, sort of, like, as I was saying before about being focused inward to outward with, like, beauty and how you feel, it sort of gets that started earlier so that they can't start internalizing all the negativeness that people say you should feel about your body. So it kind of like, it stops you from getting to that point.
So do you think that young girls should belly dance? And what do you think about people that say that belly dancing is provocative and, you know, they equated something to along the same lines as twerking? What do you say to people that are saying these things?
So one way to think about it is, like, there's a couple ways to sort of go at that. One is, why is it that that's how you're feeling about belly dance is one way. Is it something that you were, like, taught yourself, or is it that you think, oh, a woman showing a little skin and she's, like, moving around and dancing, like, are you equating that to then being particularly provocative? Because say ballet, like, you're wearing very tights, you're wearing tights, the tights are thick and pretty opaque, sure, but you're still showing skin in the sense of, like, tights, which you can even wear tights in belly dance or be completely covered and you're still doing the same movements. Same movements in belly dance are in a lot of other dances. A lot of, say, Latin dances, they'll have very similar or the same movements. Latin dances, Tahitian dance, a lot of dances from many countries have the same type of movements because it's a way the body moves comfortably. Then from there, it's like some people are, particularly like men, will be like, oh, well, it's like for a man. It's like, why do you think things are created just for men? Because belly dance wasn't created for men.
Yeah.
So is it that you think a woman showing skin and moving around, that means it's supposed to be for you? It's not. You know, belly dance, with its origins, was like people would dance separate gendered. Women would dance with women and men would dance with men. Even though it would be, for the most part, the same type of thing, it was for other women to dance socially.
Right. So what is the history behind belly dancing? Let's get to the root of that.
So a little bit of history is that's heavily contested to some extent, ancient history from it, but more modern history right before it came to, like, stage performances it was a social dance. You know, it wasn't it was more free flowing. The fact that it's now a stage type performance that you can do it's changed some.
Right.
But it's something you do within family members, parties. You know, women with women. There's music on. They start dancing with each other, and the men separate. Kind of like how, like way back in the day in the U.S. there would be like the women's sitting room and the men's sitting room. Something very similar in the Middle East, where women would be with women and men with men, and they would dance and have fun. You also have it where there would be performances, but it would be like at weddings or celebrations, or like, oh, a baby was born, everyone's dancing. Oh, there's a wedding, everyone's going to dance. And belly dance, the traditional name being like Rakshaki, which is the dance of the people, and I'm pretty sure I messed up that particular translation right now.
Really?
But there's also from there.
If y'all got problems, keep them to yourself. Like, we're just having a good time chatting. Everybody feel free to comment. We do want to make this a conversation. But I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, Fahada, but let's get into it. Yes. So belly dancing, it comes from the Middle East.
Yes.
No, go ahead. I'm
sort of industry term. One industry term is Minat dance, so Middle Eastern, North African, Turkish, and Hellenic, which is Greek, which is all the areas that belly dance comes from. Egypt is considered the Middle East, but it's also North African. And there's also, for instance, like Moroccan-style belly dance. Morocco is North African. A lot of the folklore styles that belly dancers know are African in origin. You also, Turkish style, very different. Lebanese style, Greek style belly dance. There's slight differences, but they're all very, very similar.
Right. So it's all along the Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of like, my background. I'm in food. So a lot of the flavors along the Mediterranean are very similar, even though they're different countries. You will see different things that are fundamentally the same. So when we talk about dancing, and do you believe that this is empowering women? Do you believe that this is something that women can do? Would you consider this to be like a feminist thing to do?
Yes, I do. There's people who probably don't, but I guess it depends on what level of feminist they are, I guess, or the extent of their beliefs, because I sort of, just to be a tiny bit political, became a feminist kind of in 2011, before I started belly dancing. So I do think it can be. I guess it depends on the exact person and their belief between feminism, but yeah, it can be, because it is very much liberating in the sense of I'm not focusing on what other people feel about me. I'm focusing on how I feel about myself. But then, from a more professional aspect of it, when you go start becoming or wanting to become a professional, there's a lot of like cultural things you have to learn about another culture that's very different from your own.
Right.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't want to dance, for a particular, like if a song is for like a folklore type performance, it might be rude if I come out and do a different style of dance to that particular music, because it could be traditionally for one particular thing and only that. So there is some amount of like cultural traditional things you need to learn.
Okay. So you can't just learn the dance. You have to learn the history behind the dance.
Yeah, and a lot of music things as well. It's a little, there's
and
a lot.
You gotta learn the music.
Yeah.
Gotta peel all of it back. So that's awesome. So what made you decide to, this is like a lot. As far as, do you know a lot of different styles of belly dancing, and what made you delve so deeply? What made you just fall in love with belly dancing, period?
The styles I know the most of is modern Egyptian style and American Oriental. Within Egyptian styles, a lot of times it's known as like the two main ones would be like Golden Age or more classic Egyptian and modern Egyptian. And then American Oriental is it's a fusion style. It's essentially if you took all of the Middle Eastern styles and sort of like mushed them into one. So there'll be like a little bit of like Egyptian maybe a little bit of Turkish in the performance, maybe a little bit of Lebanese. You can sort of like mix it up. Again, you have to pay attention to what kind of music you're playing.
Right.
Those are the two styles I know the most of. I know a little bit of Turkish and Moroccan more than I know of Lebanese. I know like some of the smaller intricacies of Lebanese, but I'm not well versed in enough to be able to say I'm doing a Lebanese style performance, you know? I'm not comfortable enough to that point in that style. And then from them, there's American Oriental is a style. American Cabaret is the older style of American Oriental, a little more like classic Egyptian. And then you have tribal fusion and just belly dance fusion, which you incorporate more. There's a couple troops in town that do American tribal fusion. It's a one that incorporates belly dance movements, traditional like belly dance movements, but also you'll see Indian dance movements and hip hop movements mixed in as well.
Hip hop movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, when it comes down to belly dancing, and you're talking about different styles of music, obviously to go with different styles. So if somebody just popped it on any type of music, would you instantly be able to recognize, okay, this is that style, this is that style?
It kind of depends on how old it is a little bit. I know a lot of dances, sometimes when it comes to like folklore music, it's a little easier. Like Saidi music will have Saidi rhythms in it. There's different musical patterns. Some will say, oh, this is a Khaliji rhythm. You would do Khaliji style dance to this performance because that's the rhythm that's in it, or Saidi dance, which those are both folkloric styles. Okay. While a lot of the Middle East in general will listen to actually Egyptian music, or music even in Egyptian Arabic, in which case then it becomes like a little difficult. And then like I perform primarily to only acoustics. I do occasionally perform with like lyrics in the music. I try to sort of avoid it because of the fact that I'd have to like start looking up translations and then hope that the translation is correct. You'll listen to some music and you'll think, oh, this sounds like a love song, but it's actually them talking about how much they love their country. It's not in fact a love song to someone else. They do love someone, they love their country. Or you wouldn't want to dance.
Listening. So it's important that you know the lyrics to all of the. Wow.
Because you wouldn't want to dance to something that's pretty much like they're singing about like cows and chickens on the farm, and you're doing this very like beautiful performance, and then someone who knows the music is like you're dancing to like and the cows and the chickens, and you.
So you're dancing to old McDonald's, and you don't even know. Okay, that makes wow. So, gosh, there is a lot to this. Okay, so when it comes down to, so you have to study the music, study the dance, and that's a lot of studying before you do a performance. Are there any requests that you've had to turn down because it just went against what you wanted to do, or just any request you've had to turn down, period?
So I don't perform for like all male audiences or events at all. Generally that's because a lot of people will assume like, the assumption of like
you're a stripper.
I'm a stripper,
right?
I'm
sorry, I gotta be blunt. Yeah.
So it's like that kind of keeps that down, so people aren't like, if they hire me, it's like, oh, I think she's a stripper, not gonna do stripping, and then they're, I want my money back. It's like, well, maybe you should have read that this is what I do. So it kind of like keeps that down, and is a safety thing as well.
Right.
So I haven't had to turn that down, and then it has been some people like, can I get a private performance? No. Let's say
they think you're gonna do lap dance.
Like, I'm gonna say no. You'll have to look elsewhere.
Okay, so so I don't know anything about belly dancing. Many moons ago, when I was expecting, and right after I was expecting, I did try belly dancing, and it was fun. I had a good time, and then we PCS, and that was that. So that's military life. So how do you think that what you do, how do you think it impacts the community?
from my perspective, it's both, like, from an entertainment aspect, because I do perform at a lot of Fourth Fridays. It's helping bring entertainment, but also kind of awareness that, you know, if I'm performing on the street of Fourth Friday, clearly I'm not, you know, a stripper or anything else like that. And it helps bring awareness, because when people, like, meet me and they start talking to me about it, like, there's an amount of correction done of the many incorrect things people have about it, or even about, you know, Middle Eastern culture itself. Then you also come into, if you start learning, you know, the amount of, like, gaining confidence, like, being a little more fit than you were before, and then learning some amount of, like, cultural things as well that you wouldn't know. Because even in classes when I'm teaching just the movements, I'll also go over, there's why this movement is named this has a particular reason, or this is the music we're playing and the rhythm that's going on with it. So there's an amount of learning, not just physical movements, but also, like, about dance culture, a little bit about Middle Eastern culture, a little bit about the music itself that we're playing. So a lot of it's learning and being exposed to other new things and new cultures that you might not have been exposed to otherwise.
Right.
And try to bring...
So for you, go ahead.
What were you saying?
Oh, I was saying that, so for you, this is really about education. Like, not only the movements and the dance itself, but the historic and the cultural education. And you just go out into the community to really educate, not only entertain, but educate. That's awesome. Now, explain to everybody, what is Fourth Friday? In case nobody knows where we are right now, please explain Fourth Friday.
So the downtown of Fayetteville, every Fourth Friday, they have a sort of like mini festival type thing where they'll have street performers and some vendors that come out, and they're all lined down. A lot of them are down Hay Street, but we've also started branching out to some of the other streets along the downtown area, where it sort of brings people together, because there'll be performances from a variety of cultures. There's, you know, belly dancers like myself and a couple others. There's, like, Hawaiian dance. I've seen quite a few times. I've seen a mariachi band down there as well. So you have, like, so many other cultures sort of, like, congregating into Fayetteville, because Fayetteville has so many cultures in it that might be hidden, that you might not know where they are. But we're all still here in town and in the area. You just got to find us.
Right. Now, what brought you? Are you born and raised here in Fayetteville, or?
I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I lived there till I was 4. Then we had moved to North Carolina, and then in, I believe it was 1998, we settled in Fayetteville, and I've been here since then.
Okay. And you're not affiliated with the military?
No, my grandfather on my mom's side was in the military, but that's it. And my partner's, his family's military, but he's not in the military. So I'm staying here. There's nothing that would make me move.
Okay. You know, we're military, we're implants, so, but we love it here. Fayetteville is a vibrant community. There's a lot here that people don't understand, and there's a misunderstanding about the community, and that's one of my like deep connections, and one of my deep things that I want to work on is educating people about Fayetteville. I hear so many negatives, and it's clearly just people who don't really know what Fayetteville has to offer. Every place has its good things, and every place has its not so great things. But we have to really get into what makes Fayetteville so great, and what makes people decide to retire and stay here. Because a lot of military come here and they don't leave; they just stay. So, okay, we had a question from Lena. Lena says, "I've heard a few women say they started belly dance, but then moved due to a military transfer and had to stop. Do you think your new online classes will change how you keep up with students after they move?"
Yes, they actually will. I have one student in particular who's facing to move, and she's going to continue classes with me, but online.
Awesome.
So a lot of there are many teachers, and I do encourage people, to try other teachers as well, only because a variety, because I might like the way I teach, but it might not be perfect for everyone, and that's perfectly fine. And also being exposed to different styles is good. But from the perspective, a lot of times when you find a teacher you really love, you want to continue with that teacher. And so the fact that one upside to the insanity that's happening in the world right now is that so many people are now teaching online and are opening that option and might continue to keep that option open so that other people who might not have belly dance in their area or who's moving can still continue with the same teacher that they love. Which is something,
Yeah, and that actually leads me to my next question, which is, what are some innovative habits that you have learned or implemented into your business?
So from that perspective, teaching online, which has been many hurdles, but getting there, getting better every day at it. So online teaching is one way, learning the ins and outs of how to properly convey everything I want to via like a screen, because I tend to be, while I do in my little like forms when people are going to come teach, I always have like can I do like physical corrections on like adjusting slightly, which is not something I can do via online. So there's that little hurdle, but from there it's figuring out live courses, but then also pre-recorded courses that have like an option at the end to have a one-on-one session where I would be able to say, oh, this is slightly incorrect because you might have been accidentally twisting your hip wrong and not knowing it from a class.
Right.
That's like pre-recorded.
Yes, I remember back in the day, what got me started was back in the day, there was a channel, it was like Fit TV or something like that. It was all about working out. And one of the shows was belly dancing. And that's what got me started. I was pregnant with my last boy. That's what got me started. And I did it with a belly, and that sparked me to go look into the community and see if there was an offering. And to piggyback off of what Lena said, I mean, by you being online, it is helpful because, like I said, I ended up PCSing to Missouri, and there's no belly dancing where we were. So who knows what would have happened if there was belly dancing in Missouri? You never know. But because we didn't have that option, I had to kind of like let that go by the wayside. So I think by having the online classes, I think that would be awesome. And then having the pre-recorded, some people are introverted and they're still building up to dancing in front of people, even an instructor. So I think by having that option and letting people have the option of doing private lessons, I think that's a great thing that you're doing with your business. If you guys can go through the comments, I went ahead and I posted Fahada's information. If you guys want to touch base with her or find out more about her classes and everything like that, I went ahead and posted that. So make sure that you hit her up if you're interested in any of her classes. My next question has to do with, have you ever heard of Simon Sinek?
Yes.
Okay. For our audience, Simon Sinek is a inspirational speaker. He really talks about the human spirit, what makes us do what we do, and he really zeroes in on just figuring out who we are so we can do better in business, so that can translate better in business. His focus really is on small businesses and people in the corporate world. And he has a book that's called Start With Why. And it all started from, you got a big company like Apple. And Apple started their campaign, their marketing campaign, what made their marketing campaign so different, because let's just get down to brass tacks. They're a computer company. They make hardware and software. So they're just a computer company. There are so many computer companies out there. And at the time, I think their biggest competition was IBM. So what made their company so different? And he said the reason why their company was so different was because they started with why. And he has this thing called the golden circle. And if you guys have an opportunity, please go on YouTube and look up Simon Sinek and look up the golden circle. And we'll talk about that probably later on. So I'm saying all this to bring to this one singular point of how Apple, they started their campaign with Think Different. They didn't showcase their products. They didn't say our stuff is, snazzy and it looks sleek and all the other stuff. They focus on we are doing things different. And they're challenging people to do things differently. And thus, that is their why they do what they do. So for you, my question for you is, what is your why?
So my why for performing and teaching is to share another culture that people might not know about. And even though that's not necessarily my culture, it's one that I've fallen in love with. But also to, like we were saying, like earlier in this sort of talk, that it brought me so much like joy and confidence that I want to share that with other women, and I want them to be joyful and confident as well.
Awesome. Now, I have a women's group. We meet once a month. In fact, we're meeting this week. Okay?
Yeah.
We are meeting this week. We meet the first Wednesday of the month. And when we have these meetings, I hand out cards, and all these cards have one word on it. And the word has a singular meaning to each person. When they see this word, it conveys a certain type of emotion, a certain type of thought. I know for me, sometimes I'll see a word and I'm like, holy cow, I am dealing with a lot right now. This word is hitting me right in the forehead right now. So I have 5 words, and I just want you to tell me what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear these words, okay? So the first word is delightful.
Think of, like, I won't say think of fun, because that's exactly what that means. But delightful would be, like, when I hit something just right, I guess, if that makes sense, particularly, like, in music, or there are times where you're having a playful moment with the audience during, like, a drum solo. That's something that I really love doing, because, you're doing a 5-minute drum solo, it's exhausting, and towards the end, you're playfully fanning yourself for the audience, because it's like, oh, I'm hot and tired, let me just fan myself with my hair a little bit, let me, like, play around, and that's always something so fun and, like, delightful and joyful for me.
Okay, awesome. What about arduous?
Oh, you broke up a little bit. What was the word?
Arduous.
Arduous. I'm gonna have to Google that one. Which I don't know if I can do on my phone, since I'm live streaming on my phone. It's like,
okay, hold on. I'll Google it for you. Like, okay, I know what it means. It means hard, but let's do this professional. Like, I'm sorry, I should have turned off the sound on my phone. Here we go. So arduous. Arduous means involving or requiring strenuous effort, difficult and tiring. So what is arduous? What does that mean to you?
I'll be honest. Being a professional belly dancer can be arduous. Because there's a lot of work involved, like so many layers of things to learn and do, and then also sort of like, at least in my own view of like, I want to be careful not to accidentally misrepresent another culture that I'm, because that would be, at least to me, like way out of line from what I want to do.
Right.
So being a professional can be like that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking like the other side of it, because like the dance itself, I can see that being very arduous, but, booking and scheduling, the business side of it and the paperwork and dealing with the customers, all of that seems like that would be pretty arduous.
Yes.
So
just overall, I feel like that's kind of a little bit of my life in general, but...
Right? Especially these times. Right now is very arduous. Yes. Okay. What about challenging?
challenging is something that I kind of love a little bit, at least particularly
Really?
in the mini thing. I guess challenging is being challenged and something being challenging because I know that with enough time and practice, I can overcome that challenge. And so and then once I get past that challenge, like I feel so like successful and good about finally getting to where I want to be. Okay. So I guess it's something I've had to embrace in my life quite a bit.
Right. I feel like in business and in life, like challenging and competitive could probably be one and the same because you're basically competing with yourself.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can see how that can, okay. What about enlightening?
I found dance to be enlightening in the sense of being connected to my body in a new way since I started. In a sense of, like, before, I didn't think too much about how my body feels when I do things or from day to day, and now I'm very, very aware of that, and that's something, like, that was a very enlightening thing that I went through, and something that I want to share with other people.
Right.
You know, because there's even talking about because every once in a while you have people ask me, like, I've had a couple people ask me what kind of, like, diets and stuff I do, and I don't diet at all, but I do kind of, like, intuitive eating, which is something that's kind of enlightening once you learn how to do that.
Right.
So that was another thing as well, being aware of my body to the point of, like, this is the foods that it needs today or this week or in the future, and then also physically, like, I can do these things now, or I might not feel up for saying, you know, walking 3 miles today, but I might tomorrow, and then learning those different things. I think I went, like, way off left field with that question. But that
no, you did.
I don't know.
You did. No, because, you know, it's kind of like, now this is completely irrelevant, but it's funny to me. It's like my husband, during this pandemic, my husband realized that milk is not good for him. Like, if he drinks milk, his body reacts in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a moment where he was enlightened. Like, he was like, wow. You know, enlightenment is simply just being more aware. And I think when you're doing what you do, you have to be aware of what you're putting in your body. You have to be aware of how your body reacts to certain things. So to me, it makes sense. You know, that's your enlightenment. And I think even going so far as, you know, the sense of enlightenment as being a woman and your power of being a woman, you know, dancing, I think that's another source that could be a source of enlightenment. I'm feeding words right now. Anyway, that's just my thought. What about innovative?
Innovative's a little hard because I try getting there, but also there's so much in the world that it's like, are there new things at this point? Are they though?
Right?
Yeah. There's so many people with so many thoughts.
Right. Maybe it's just a new way of thinking of something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I don't like, I really hate it when people say, I have a goal. You know, like, or better yet, I hate New Year's resolutions. I hate those because nobody ever keeps them. It's a waste of time. You feel horrible. It messes with your self-esteem because you didn't get anything accomplished. Whereas if you say that this is my to-do list, it's like, no, this is getting done. Like, this is an action.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, well, I want to, this is my resolution. Hopefully I do it. Like, no, you're not going to do it. Let's be honest. If it's a to-do, then it's going to get to done. You know, that's just my thought process. So I think for being innovative, I think innovation is simply just having a new type of way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You could be doing the same thing as everybody else, but it's the energy that you bring to it that makes it different. So maybe that's what, you know, we're having this conversation. So, good.
There's, like, two things that come to mind. One is that, you know, kind of like the last question where dance can help you sort of, like, get things like both off your chest, but also clear your mind a little bit. You know, when I was taking classes, when I was like first a student, that was my one like stress relieving thing I did a week. Like, you know, my family and my partner even noticed that like after dance classes, like I had a much better mood for the next few days afterwards.
Right.
Which was like, you know, even when things were like really hard and difficult, both financially and personally, like I would still take classes. You know, my family was like, no, even though you could save money not taking classes, you need to go because you are, you know, a better person afterwards. Well, a better person afterwards. You feel better, and you mood-wise and mentally you're much better, which can bring that kind of thing. The other thing that comes to mind sort of is the very old thing of, I don't know if you've read The Artist's Way or like aware of like morning pages. Like I carry a journal. Like morning pages essentially sort of like a task where you have a journal, and every morning you get up and you write 3 pages. Not like I'm trying to write a story, just 3 pages of anything that comes to your mind, and you sort of get it all out onto paper. So it's not like just clogging up your brain. And I actually carry a journal around with me like all the time now. And so whenever something comes to mind, I write it down, or I'm like just scribbling endless things that come to mind, because then it's not clogging up. It's not me being like, oh, I need to remember this later. I'll remember it later because it's written down now. I don't have to keep it in my head. It's now on paper.
Right.
To like open me up to focusing on different things, or having my mind feels more clear, and I feel more focused now after learning that.
Right. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of something no, you're totally brilliant. It reminds me of something that's called addict theory. And it believes, the theory is that your mind only has a certain amount of space. And once it's filled up, it's filled up. So you have to be careful about what useless facts you put in there. And I think, I think that by having, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh no, addict theory. And I do the same thing. And I noticed that a lot of successful people and a lot of brilliant people, a lot of thinkers, they do that. They carry around, in fact, right now, like I have so many of these little notebooks and in my purse, and there's notebooks everywhere. And anytime I come up with an idea, I'm just like, oh, this is good. And I'll write it down, and maybe later on I'll read it, and I'm like, no, it wasn't a good idea. Like, what is this? Terrible. But I had to get it out, because sometimes in our heads we make things so fanciful that we're like, oh, this is going to be brilliant. This is the next $1 million idea. But I think by writing it out, and, you know, my mom used to say coming up, if it's written down, it's going to get done. So I think by writing stuff down, writing down what you're getting ready to do, what you would like to do, what you have plans to do, writing all of this down, that, you know, you are creating, you're setting the groundwork that eventually, you know, it's already out there. You know, I had an idea for my food truck 4 years ago, and 4 years ago. So.
Well, you're there now, though.
Right. But if you write it down, it gets done. That's what I tell myself all the time. Well, I wrote it down, so it's going to get done. So I think that's a good idea. I think, like I said, I've heard and read about a lot of successful people that's what they do. They carry around notebooks like crazy people, and they just write all the time. So I think what you're doing is awesome. Keep writing. You never know what's going to pop out of your brain. Yeah. And, you know, have brainstorming sessions and stuff like that. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and close it out here. That was our last word, innovative. And I hope you found this episode of an Innovation Monday innovative. Thank you, Fahada, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This was super, super fun. We got to do this again.
Yes. It was great.
Okay. So we're going to have Fahada tell them how to do it.
You can, I'm currently in the process of actually updating my website, but you can check out my website, which is fahadabellydance.com. On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or Facebook, Instagram, I am, and YouTube, I'm Fahada Belly Dance. On Twitter, I am Fahada Dance, because there's a limit on how many characters you can use. Yeah, that's a couple different ways to find me.
I hope I see you guys next Monday. Like I said, I think Hollywood Java will be joining us, and hopefully I'll be sipping on some good coffee. I'm actually on my way out the door to go get some coffee because he's down the street from my house. Hello.
Nice.
So I will see you guys. I will see you guys next Monday. Thank you, Fahada, for tuning in or coming on the show and chatting with me. And I will catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening. I hope you found something valuable to take away from today's session. If you would like more info about the guest or about the podcast, please go to our Instagram page, real_Stacie_Simfukwe, or our Facebook page, Simply Life with Stacie. Again, thank you for tuning in.